Mr. Irwine, then Ms. Patterson, and then Mr. Doug Brown. And Mr. Zlotnick has magically appeared, so I'm told. Mr. Irwine.
Thank you, Mr. Eisenberg. I'm Terry Irwine, State Water Contractors. I just want to very briefly comment on a part of the portfolio proposal that came up today that calls for reducing average water deliveries of the state project and the CVP to as little as 4 million acre-feet average per year. As you know, before the biological opinions were imposed, the State Water Project and CVP got approximately 6 million acre-feet per year.
7 years out of the roughly 40 years of history, as I think we went through when we exchanged letters on this subject many months ago.
Something like that, yeah. Yes. Mm-hmm. And currently we're at about 5 million acre-feet. Mm-hmm. This proposes dropping those water supplies down to 4 million acre-feet. It calls for in part making up some of those reductions through increased groundwater storage and surface storage south of the Delta. At the State Water Contractors, we've been conducting water supply studies for quite a while and some modeling of analysis to figure out what the potential is for taking advantage of those water supplies. And we've done some preliminary analysis of how the current south of the Delta system would work with a 3,000 CFS facility with something like the restrictions that are being proposed. As you know, San Luis Reservoir is really the main facility that the state project and CVP rely on south of the Delta. It's the main state project and CVP facility south of the Delta. It's about 2 million acre-feet, and that's really what the projects are dependent on to get by from year to year. Filling this reservoir is a pretty good index of how much storage is needed and how much storage could be used south of the Delta. We've done a preliminary analysis, and what we're finding is that on average, that with the proposed portfolio approach, that you'd be filling San Luis Reservoir less than 10% of the time. So that means that 90% of the time, San Luis Reservoir would have empty storage capacity, which means that additional storage over and above that wouldn't provide any value. In short, the current storage supply system would be pretty ample for taking advantage of what water supplies, surplus water supplies are available with the portfolio approach. And the idea of building expensive additional storage doesn't make a lot of sense to capture non-existent water supplies. Thank you very much for your.
Thank you, sir.